All right, so this is going to bring us to the end of our basic parts practice. This is basic part number 12. All right, so for basic part number 12, this one, it doesn't look very basic, okay? As a matter of fact, this is probably looking a little bit intimidating for some of you guys, and that's okay. It's all right. Don't worry about it. We're going to get through this. All right, so before we start sketching, let's look at our technical drawings. All right, so on this one, we actually have three different views. And I know this is probably small on your screen because you might be using the Chromebooks. If so, don't worry about it. I'm going to zoom in so you can see these things. And generally, you would have these printed so it would be easier to see, and it would be on a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So we've got our isometric view here. We've got our front view, our top view, and our side view. So front is this L, top is up here, and the side is over here, just like an isometric. And so hopefully I have given us all the information that we need in order to draw this and create this part. So looking at this, we know that right here we're given a radius, and right here we're given a radius, okay? And when we're drawing that, I can see that this is just like some of the other parts that we've created in that it's a half circle on top of a rectangle. So this radius, if I double it, 0.75 times 2, 75 cents times 2, that's $1.50. All right, so 1.5 inches. That means it's going to be 1.5 across, and I know that's true because of this right here. This one here, the radius is 0.5, so I know that the diameter is 1 inch. So I know this rectangle here is going to be 1 inch. All right, and then it's a 1/4 inch, so it's 1 inch wide by 1/4 inch tall, and then it's got this 1 inch half circle on top of it. I've got a little chamfer, a little fillet right here with a radius of 0.25 that I will add to give me that smooth little transition down onto my part. And then we've got this little lip down here at the bottom as well. So there we go. So we're going to start by drawing this shape at the top. I'm going to draw this this rectangle with my circle at the top. That's how I'm going to start this sketch. So in your new Part Studio, click on the top of your view cube to spin it around. Click on your top work plane and start a sketch, Shift S. Then you're going to get rid of or make invisible your work planes so that we can start drawing. And I'm not even going to worry about dimensions. I'm just going to draw myself a rectangle. So I'm going to grab my corner rectangle. That's the letter G on my keyboard. Let's start at that origin point, come out here, and I'm going to click, and then I'm going to be done. And then I'm going to grab my center point circle. I would dimension this all at once. Okay, so my center point circle, and I'm going to find the center of this line right here, and I'm going to click the corner, and then I'm going to exit out of that. And then one other thing that I'm going to add is I'm going to go ahead and add this circle right here, okay, so that I can go ahead and cut that, and I can be done with this part of my drawing. So I'm going to grab my center point circle one more time, go back to the center of this circle, click again, click it. All right. And now I'm ready to start dimensioning. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my trim tool because I do not need this line, this line, this line, or this line. And I also don't need this line. All right. So now that already is starting to look like my part. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my dimension tool, the letter D on my keyboard, and we're ready to start dimensioning this thing. So looking at the top-down view, I know that this is 1.5 inches tall. So this right here is going to be 1.5. And for my width, I'm going to go with this right here. I'm going to find my radius. So I'm going to look over here, and I'm going to see that the radius is 0.75. Now, generally, when we're dimensioning a circle, we're working in diameters. But since I took off the bottom of this circle, it's now going to be a half circle. So it's going to ask me, what's my radius? And look at that, 0.75. We already did it. So we don't actually have to do that, because when we did this, it automatically gave us that radius. Okay, so we need to know how long it is from here to here. All right, well, we know that the overall distance is 2.75. Okay, so let me go from here to here. And that's going to tell you that that is 2 inches. And when we do our dimension drawings, we do want to make sure that we space out our dimensions enough that we can read them. All right, so coming back over here, I know that this wall right here needs to be 2 inches. All right, and then my inner circle, coming back to my dimension drawing, my inner circle has a diameter of 0.5. So grab my dimension tool one more time. This right here, 0.5. And we are done. So we're going to click on the corner and we're going to zoom out a little bit. And we need to know how thick this is. So we look at our dimension drawing. It is 1/2 inch thick. So our extrusion, we're going to extrude this shape straight up. And we're going to extrude it 1/2 inch, so 0.5. Enter, enter, bang. We're in good shape. All right. So what's next? Well, there's a couple things we can do. For me, I'm going to go ahead and draw this shape right here, this little hump in the back. Okay, so in order to do that, I am going to spin my part around so that I'm facing the back. I'm going to click on the back of my view cube, and I'm going to click right here and start a sketch. And then I'm going to center it up. All right, looking at my drawing, I know, because we just talked about this, I know that this is going to be another one of those rectangles with a half circle on top of it. So I'm looking at this and I can see that my rectangle needs to be 1/4 of an inch tall. Okay. And how wide is it? Well, I know how wide it is because I can see right here it's 1 inch. But I could also use this right here where it tells me the radius of my circle is 1/2 inch. That would tell me that the diameter is 1. So it would be 1 by 1/4. Okay. So come over here, grab my corner rectangle tool. I'm coming from this corner here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to tell it I want it to be 1 inch wide by 0.25 inches tall. And then I'm going to grab my center point circle, and I'm going to find this center point right there, and I'm going to drag out until I hit this corner right here. That gives me a perfect circle, and I am going to hit escape. And then just because I want to clean it up a little, I'm going to use my trim tool to get rid of the bottom of my circle. And as you notice, every time it hits a line, we have to remove a few more things. So I'm going to do that right there. We can remove these lines as well. And now we're left with the shape that we want. And we can click our isometric and we can hit Shift E. And what I want you to notice is I've got a different color now. And what it is doing is it is actually trying to draw a new part. Okay, but I don't want it to be new. I want to add. Okay, and when I click add, it makes it the same color, but we need it to go the opposite direction. Okay, so that's what we want right there, but we don't want it to be that thick. I believe that it's supposed to be 1/4, but it may be 1/2. Let's look. All right, so if this is 1.5 and this is 1, then that means this has to be 1/2 inch. So our extrusion needs to be 0.5. There you go. All right, so what else do we know? Well, we know that we have a smooth lip right here, so that's a chamfer. And looking at this, I didn't really tell us. Oh, yes, I did. There's the radius. So the radius of that chamfer is 0.25 inches. So we're going to come over here. We're going to grab our chamfer tool, or excuse me, our fillet tool. I said chamfer, I meant fillet. So Shift F, fillet tool. We're going to grab this corner right here so you can zoom in. You're going to grab that corner right there. That should be the only thing that's yellow. You click it, and we want it to be 0.25 because that was what our radius was. That's going to give us a nice little smooth curve. Going to hit that green checkbox. Double click my mouse wheel. That's going to zoom me back out. And now I'm almost done. The last thing I need to do is I need to add this little lip right here. All right, so how big is that lip? Well, let's find out. There you go. This is another thing that I did not give us. So I'm going to pull this over here, and we're going to go right here. This is 0.5, so it's half an inch wide. And we know that it's going to be, it is 1.5 inches across the back, but how deep is it? Well, we know that this end is 0.5, this end is 1, so it has to be 0.5. So it's going to be a 0.5 by 0.5 rectangle. So I'm going to click on the front face of my view cube, click on the front of my part, start a sketch, Shift S, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to grab our corner rectangle, letter G on your keyboard, click on this corner, come down, and we know that it needs to be 0.5 by 0.5. Once we've got that, we can throw that into isometric. We can hit Shift E to extrude, and it's going to try to add to the outside. We're going to tell it to reverse it, and we're going to say add, not new, and it needs to be 1.5 inches, and we can zoom around to see, yes, in fact, that does match up. And when we hit that green checkbox, we get our part fully formed, and there you go. That is basic part 12. So right click on your Part Studio tab, rename it BP12, right click on your part number, rename that to BP12, and you are finished with the basic parts practice. Next, we will learn how to, next thing we'll do is we'll start talking about drawings and dimensioning, but we'll get there soon. All right, hope this helps. We'll see you guys next time.